해야 되고 또 그 과정도 여러 단계를 거쳐야 되고 살아서 뒤돌아봤을 때 잘 살았는지 안 살았는지도 잘 모르겠거든요. 근데 대충 곰이 그래요.
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. President Lee Jae-myung departed Seoul this morning to visit Turkey and Mongolia. The highlight of his trip is his debut at the NATO summit in Ankara, as Seoul seeks to strengthen defense ties and position itself as a key partner for the alliance. Samsung Electronics reported a preliminary operating profit of 89.4 trillion Korean won, or around $58 billion for the 3 months through June. That's more than double the company's operating profit for all of last year and surges past analyst estimates. Russia launched a major missile and drone attack on Ukraine, killing at least 22 people and injuring nearly 90 more. This came just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump claimed a resolution to the Ukraine war is getting closer than people realize. President Lee Jae-myung departed for a two-leg trip to Turkey and Mongolia this morning. In Ankara, he will make his NATO summit debut, with Seoul looking to position itself as an attractive defense partner for the alliance. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yoo-jin breaks down what to expect from Lee's 5-day trip.
Less than a month after attending the G7 summit, President Lee Jae-myung is heading to another major diplomatic stage, the NATO summit in Turkey. Korea, participating as an invited partner, is eyeing to deepen defense cooperation with the alliance. Together, NATO's 32 members account for more than half of global defense spending, making it the world's largest defense market.
As geopolitical uncertainty continues to grow, NATO allies are increasing defense spending and expanding their own defense production capabilities. As a NATO partner, Korea also needs to strengthen interoperability in line with NATO standards, so our defense products can be more readily supplied to allied countries.
A key highlight of Lee's visit will be the NATO Summit Defense Industry Forum on Tuesday. The event will bring together senior NATO officials, government representatives, and defense industry leaders. There, President Lee will deliver a keynote address and join a panel discussion.
Through the forum, we will directly showcase the strengths of our defense industry and its rapid production capabilities to NATO allies and partner countries, while securing concrete avenues of cooperation as we work toward becoming one of the world's top 4 defense exporters.
Beyond defense, Seoul hopes to broaden cooperation with NATO in areas ranging from security to the economy. As part of that effort, President Lee will hold talks with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Tuesday. He will then join a meeting between NATO and its 4 Indo-Pacific partners, Korea, Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. Several bilateral meetings with fellow world leaders are also being arranged. After 2 days in Turkey, President Lee will travel to Mongolia for a 3-day state visit. He is scheduled to hold a summit with Mongolian President Ufnagin Huresu on Thursday. The trip will conclude with Lee attending the opening ceremony of Mongolia's historic Naram Festival as a guest of honor, becoming the first Korean president to do so. 송유진, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics has announced a record-breaking second quarter operating profit. According to a preliminary earnings report posted on Tuesday, Samsung saw operating profits of 89.4 trillion Korean won, or approximately $58.5 billion for its best quarter on record. Sales increased 129.3% year over year to reach approximately $111.9 billion. While market analysts have widely expected a strong performance driven by global demand for advanced AI memory chips, the report exceeded expectations to record the highest operating profits for any tech company worldwide. The finalized and fully audited financial results will be disclosed later this month, following board approval. And now for more on this, we're joined today by Professor Park Min-jung, professor at the Department of Business Administration at Kumo National Institute of Technology. Professor Park, thanks for coming on today.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me today.
So Samsung Electronics profits surged past analyst estimates in the 3 months through June. How significant is this, and what does it tell investors who are trying to gauge how much longer the AI investment boom can last?
Yeah, the Samsung's electronics stronger than expected earnings are significant because they reinforce the view that the AI-driven semiconductor cycle is still intact. More importantly, they suggest the demand for high-value memory products such as HBM and DRAM remains stronger than many investors had anticipated. However, I don't think investors should interpret this as evidence that the AI boom will continue indefinitely. The market is now moving from a phase of rapid investment to one where sustainability becomes the key question. Investors will closely watch whether hyperscale cloud companies continue expanding their AI infrastructure as the current pace, and more importantly, whether those investments generate meaningful returns. In my view, the long-term outlook remains positive because AI adoption is still in its early stages across many industries. But the path forward is unlikely to be linear. We should expect periods of slower investment, pricing adjustments, and increased competition. Over these, Samsung Electronics confirmed that the AI investment cycle remains healthy, but future growth will depend on discipline, investment, and continued technological innovation rather than market optimism alone.
I see. You just mentioned slower investment and a more competitive environment, and some analysts see potential delays to AI infrastructure investment as the biggest risk to the current memory boom. What's your take on this, and what are the key risks you see going forward?
I agree that a delay in AI infrastructure investment is one of the most important risks, but I will not say it is the only one risky. The current memory boom is largely driven by hypercycle AI infrastructure spending, particularly strong demand for HBM and advanced DRAM. If cloud companies slow down capital spending because of profitability concerns and power constraints or overcapacity fears, memory price momentum can weaken quickly. That said, AI demand still looks structurally strong. The bigger issue is timing. Memory companies are investing aggressively now, while end-user AI-generated profits is still developing. If supply expands faster than real AI service revenue, the cycle could become more volatile. Going forward, I see three key risks. The first is capital spending buzz by major AI platform companies. Second, technology execution risk, especially Samsung's ability to compete in HBM and advanced packaging. Third is geopolitical risks, including export controls, China competition, and supply chain restrictions. So finally, my view is cautiously positive. The memory upcycle is real, but it is not just risk-free, and Samsung's earnings momentum will depend on whether AI infrastructure investment remains disciplined and profitable and broad-based beyond a few large customers.
I see. And last week, there were reports that Anthropic is in talks with Samsung Electronics to manufacture custom AI chips. If the deal goes through, could this become a symbolic turning point that strengthens the company's foundry competitiveness and expand its position in the global AI ecosystem?
Yeah, if the Anthropic deal goes through, it could become a symbolic turning point for Samsung. The reason is that Samsung's foundry business has needed a strong reference customer in advanced AI chips. A partnership with Anthropic would signal as Samsung is not only a memory supplier, but also a potential strategic manufacturing partner in the AI accelerator ecosystem. However, I would still call it a symbolic turning point first, not yet a fundamental turnaround. The report suggests that the talks are still at an early stage, involving Samsung's 2-nanometer process and advanced packing capabilities. The real test will be whether Samsung can deliver stable yield, performance, power efficiency, and packaging integration at scale. If successful, the deal could improve Samsung's capability and credibility against TSMC and help the company connect memory and foundry and advanced packaging into a broader AI semiconductor platform. But execution risk remains the key variable. In the AI chip market, winning one high-profile customer is important, but proving mass production reliability is what finally strengthens foundry competitiveness.
I see. I guess we'll have to see if this momentum will last. All right, Professor Park, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Canada has selected Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems as the preferred bidder for its multi-billion-dollar submarine procurement project. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced the decision on Monday before departing for the NATO summit in Ankara. The move ends hopes that the South Korean consortium led by Hanwha Ocean and HD Hyundai Heavy Industries will secure the lucrative contract. The project calls for the construction of up to 12 diesel-electric submarines under a program valued at as much as $39.1 billion, including long-term maintenance. However, Carney said that if negotiations with TKMS fail, Canada can still designate Hanwha Ocean as the preferred bidder, describing the South Korean consortium as the reserve supplier. The Rim of the Pacific, the world's largest international maritime warfare drill, is ongoing around the Hawaiian Islands. This edition is all the more significant to the South Korean Navy, which has taken the role of the Combined Force Maritime Component commander. Our Kim Bo-kyung files this report from Hawaii.
Naval forces from 30 nations convened around the Hawaiian Islands, advancing towards a shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific region. They came together for the Rim of the Pacific, the world's largest multinational maritime military training event. Marking its 30th edition this year, RIMPAC features 30 surface ships, 5 submarines, around 200 aircraft, and 30,000 personnel. On board the USS Essex of the U.S. Amphibious Fleet, one task force commander highlighted the importance of the drill, underlining that the region constitutes nearly 2/3 of the world's economy and is home to over half of the world's population.
And by integrating our forces, we ensure our collective ability to deter aggression, prevent coercion, and protect the global supply chains and lines of communications that help sustain our interconnected economies and our continued prosperity.
This year's RIMPAC exercise is all the more meaningful to the ROK Navy as Korea assumed the role of Combined Force Maritime Component Commander. Dubbed the Fortress on the Sea, the Navy's most advanced Aegis destroyer, the ROK's Cheongjo the Great, is making its RIMPAC debut as the South Korean Navy makes history as the first from Asia to command the exercise's Maritime Task Force. Taking part in simulated air defense warfare training, the crew in the warship's command and control center shot down incoming enemy missiles with SM-2 surface-to-air missiles. ROK's Cheongjo the Great is not the only core asset from Korea that's taking part in the drill. The ROK's Dosan Anchangho is docked at Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam in Hawaii. The country's 3,000-ton submarine sailed across the Pacific before joining RIMPAC after completing a combined naval exercise with Canada in early June.
With some of our finest assets here, our multinational partners can see how far the ROK Navy has advanced. Serving as the Combined Force Maritime Component Commander, I can also see how much the Navy's global stature has grown.
With state-of-the-art assets in place, the ROK Navy will continue to demonstrate its capabilities as RIMPAC continues through July 31st. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News, Honolulu.
In sports, U.S. President Donald Trump acknowledged calling FIFA President Gianni Infantino about a controversial red card issued to an American player. FIFA says its disciplinary process remains independent, but the incident has sparked calls for an ethics investigation and renewed scrutiny of the organization's political neutrality. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he called FIFA President Gianni Infantino to discuss the red card given to U.S. striker following Balogun during the World Cup Round of 32 match against Bosnia-Herzegovina.
So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA. I spoke to a man who's highly respected, and by the way, whose level of respect has gone up tenfold. And he was good before this started, but you know, he really pushed it in this country. I'm the one that got them to do it.
Balogun, who has scored 3 goals in the tournament, was sent off after stepping on the ankle of Bosnia-Herzegovina defender Tarik Muharamovic. The red card carried an automatic 1-game suspension, which would have ruled him out of the round of 16 match against Belgium. But FIFA later suspended the red card, allowing Balogun to play. The decision sparked criticism, with some questioning whether Trump's call had influenced the process. Infantino responded to criticisms on Monday, saying FIFA's judicial bodies are independent and make decisions based on the FIFA disciplinary code and the facts of each case. He confirmed that he had received a call from Trump, but said he explained that the matter was part of an ongoing legal process and would be handled by the appropriate bodies. However, controversy has also drawn criticism from Fair Square, a human rights group focused on sports. Its co-founder Nicholas McGeehan told Reuters that FIFA has become too politically aligned, calling for an investigation into the issue.
We are definitely going to ask for an investigation into the circumstances of this. If there is a quid pro quo here at work, then that is a very clear violation of the Code of Ethics, and a quite serious violation of the Code of Ethics.
McGeehan says Trump's intervention should be investigated as a possible breach of FIFA's rules on political neutrality. 50 members of the European Parliament have also written to FIFA's Ethics Committee, backing a complaint against Infantino over his ties to Trump's political agenda. 이승재, Arirang News.
Over in Ukraine, Russia launched a large-scale missile and drone attack on Kyiv, killing at least 22 people and exposing weaknesses in its air defenses. The strikes came shortly after U.S. President Donald Trump suggested a diplomatic resolution to the war may be near. Our Rim has the details.
Russia launched a massive missile and drone attack on Ukraine on Monday, killing at least 22 people and injuring nearly 90 others. Ukrainian authorities said Russia fired 351 drones and 68 missiles early Monday, with Kyiv and nearby areas hit the hardest. Just hours earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump claimed a diplomatic resolution between the warring nations was close.
I think we're getting much closer than people realize, and President Putin wants it to end. I will tell you that very strongly.
Although Ukraine said it intercepted many of the drones and cruise missiles, all 29 ballistic missiles launched by Russia reportedly struck their targets, leaving emergency workers to search the rubble in residential areas for survivors. The strikes also exposed critical gaps in Ukraine's air defenses.
We do not have enough means of defense, especially Patriot missiles. We have demonstrated to all our partners both the need for and, most importantly, the ability to provide greater protection.
Zelensky added that Ukraine could produce Patriot systems itself if Washington granted the necessary manufacturing licenses. Meanwhile, Ukraine carried out its own long-range drone strikes on Russia, with military officials saying the Omsk oil refinery in western Siberia was hit. The facility is Russia's largest oil refinery and accounts for about 12% of the country's refining capacity. Analysts say repeated Ukrainian strikes on Russian energy sites have contributed to fuel shortages and rationing in several regions. 정혜림, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun and this is The World Now. In Sri Lanka, clashes between prison inmates have left 26 dead and around 100 injured. Clashes began on Sunday between convicted prisoners and those under temporary detention at the facility in Negombo, a coastal town about 35 kilometers north of Colombo. 2 inmates died and 38 were injured in the initial fighting. More violence on Monday morning then left 24 others dead, including 7 prison officials. Sri Lanka's justice minister said some weapons fell into the hands of prisoners during the disturbance. Hospital officials reported some of the injured sustained gunshot wounds. Police riot control squads and special forces were deployed to contain the violence. The justice minister says the situation is now under control. Cuba's power generation system shut down entirely on Monday in what was the 8th nationwide power failure since last October and the 3rd this calendar year. Power company UNE prioritized supply to hospitals and food facilities, but could restore just 1% of Havana's normal requirements by the afternoon. Years of neglect toward aging infrastructure combined with fuel restrictions have forced Cubans to endure prolonged blackouts spanning days. The Trump administration discontinued Venezuelan fuel deliveries to the island months ago and convinced Mexico to suspend its own shipments. 2/3 of residents had already lost electricity before Monday's complete collapse occurred. Residents described conditions as unbearable amid summer heat and surging mosquito populations. Microsoft announced on Monday that it will cut 4,800 workers from its payroll, roughly 2.1% of total staff, as the company reorganizes its gaming operations. The Xbox sector will absorb 3,200 of those departures, with layoffs beginning immediately for 1,600 employees on Monday. The company rejected suggestions that artificial intelligence would fill these roles. Despite years of investment in the gaming sector, Microsoft has failed to close the gap with competitors Sony and Nintendo. It is shifting course towards spreading its game portfolio across multiple distribution channels rather than depending solely on exclusive console titles to drive hardware demand. A London judge will deliver a decision on Tuesday on whether the Daily Mail publisher engaged in unlawful information gathering against Prince Harry and several other British celebrities. The case centers on claims that dozens of stories that were published from the 1990s to 2011 were based on information obtained unlawfully via mobile phone message interception, telephone line monitoring, and fraudulent extraction of medical files. The Daily Mail leadership acknowledged minor regulatory violations, but insisted they terminated investigator relationships from 2007 forward.
The morning commute was a wet start to the day as monsoon rain continued across parts of the country. A strong band of rain clouds will move towards the northeast, bringing heavy rain to the northern parts of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do provinces, while the rest of the country will get 5 to 60 millimeters of monsoon showers. And once the rain moves out, attention will turn to heat and afternoon thunderstorms. Heat advisories remain in place for the southern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and Gyeongsang-do provinces. Then there is a chance of heavy passing showers with 5 to 60 millimeters in the forecast, along with thunderstorms. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 30 degrees Celsius. Daegu tops out at 34 degrees, and it's going to be quite muggy in Daegu with a heat advisory in place and rain ahead. Looking ahead, the monsoon front will strengthen again tomorrow and Thursday. Forecast indicates more than 150 millimeters of rain across central Korea and over 120 millimeters in parts of the southern regions.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
Across borders, surging forward without limits, Korea. Korean culture has moved beyond a passing trend, becoming a force that colors the world. And perhaps its origins trace much further back into our own history. The true roots where this vast chronicle began, where the essence of K-power and the spirit of our people are recorded. In the 17 seconds you casually pass by, thousands of years are breathing within. The moment your gaze lingers and your curiosity is stirred, the radiant faces of our history begin to awaken. the real stories of these artifacts, stories we never knew. It begins here, now.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, June 7th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Kyle.
Pleasure to be back.
Good to have you, and also Cheska.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday.
Woo!
Both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're already on the second day of the work week, and whether you're powering through or already counting down to the weekend, we've got an interesting topic too, hopefully that will brighten your day. So speaking of things that will make people happy, more and more young people are proudly embracing their inner child. From collectible toys and character goods to Lego sets and retro games, the kidult trend is booming among younger generations. So in line of that, Kyle, do you still buy toys right now?
So,
are you still a kid at heart?
looking back, as a kid, I imagine my adult self, like buying things like a Lamborghini or like
Something really fancy.
yeah, 90-inch HD TV for myself. But instead, I buy myself a random fidget toys like this.
Oh, they sound so satisfying.
It's so satisfying in a $5 budget, of course.
Yes.
So growing up, we always had to ask our parents to get our stuff like toys and Legos, and I even had to like pitch to my parents like why I needed them. Yes. So I guess like that kind of left like a lingering longing in me of, I don't know, possessing stuff.
Finally being able to pay for it.
Exactly.
That void that was
exactly. So like now I spend my adult money on this, and then ironically I feel the most adult to myself when I buy these like the most useless things like this. So. Yeah, I hate to admit it, but I still like kidult myself.
No, I can relate to this because when you're young, it's so hard to convince your parents to buy these useless toys. But now that I have money, sort of,
I'm a grown up now.
I can buy my own fidget toys.
Exactly.
So what about you, Jessica?
I love that we're a group of people who are sort of talking about this.
We're getting very excited about this.
Very excited because I also have one.
Oh, it's a bit tinier than
It's tinier, but I definitely have it, and I bought it with my own money, so I'm definitely a kidult at heart too. And I think I'm more into a very specific type.
Ooh, okay.
I really like Legos and keycaps, like the very specific tactile toys.
Is it because they're block shaped? Is that about the shape as well?
Yeah, I think so. And there's something about it fitting together. I'm not too into like slimes or squish balls that we will talk about.
Okay.
But I've seen a lot of my adult friends who kind of keep it on the side while they're working. Like they're typing, but they're like stress releasing with these toys. So I feel like there's definitely a trend going on that we're going to talk about today. Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like for many people, these toys aren't about trying to escape reality. They're simply a small, healthy way to take a mental break during a busy day. So we'll talk more about this in just a moment, but first, let's take a look at the screen. Trends may come and go at the speed of light these days, but one trend that is not only sticking around, but also evolving is the kidult trend. From nostalgic childhood favorites to brand new collectibles, more and more young adults are embracing toys not just for fun, but as a way to unwind, express themselves, and relieve stress. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at the latest toy craze capturing the attention of the younger generation, why these stress relief items have become so popular, and how this growing obsession is also sparking some unexpected conflicts. Just as we saw in a video, toys are no longer just for children. These days, more young adults are turning to them as a fun and simple way to relax after a stressful day. And some of the latest trends may be unlike anything you've seen before. So what kinds of stress relief toys are trending among young adults, Kyle?
I am so excited to talk about this. I'm so ready. So right now, like tactile and sensory toys are massive among 20-30 generation. So the biggest trend is definitely the thing that I brought, the keycap cube right now. It's so satisfying.
At this point, you're making up an excuse too.
Yeah, it's a trend. It is a trend.
So addicting. Once you start, you can't stop.
Yeah. It wasn't my choice. So that, like the keycap ring that let you enjoy satisfying keyboard clicking sound on the go, and squishy stress balls known as balangi, as Jessica mentioned, and various types of tactile putty and slime are also making a huge comeback. So recently, we're even seeing new items rising quickly, like wakbu board, which means wax breaking ball. I don't know who made it, but it's genius. Which are balls with a wax coating that you crush to enjoy the texture and sound. So it's all about clicky, squishy, and crunchy items.
So these certainly are not just the kind of toys that many of us grew up with. So it's interesting how something so simple can become part of people's daily routines as a way to relax. But they're far from the only products gaining popularity. So what other stress relief toys are becoming popular among adults, Jessica?
I mean, there's so many. As we saw in the VCR, there are a variety of types. And I think Koreans are so good at customizing these things. So there's like, you know, malangi, which is a softie, wakbu board, the wax breaking ball. But when you look at the type of characters or the kind of items that they create, there's like a cheesecake shape, like a chocolate shape, even like different types of fruits, characters. I mean, it's so, so crazy. And if we look at the screen, we can actually see this reflected in the purchasing power of young adults. So just in a year, from 2025 to 2026, the keycap market grew over 100%. And I think that is quite huge if you think about it. And likewise, the squeeze balls or the squishy toys also grew by 37% in just a year. And I think this shows how much young adults are willing to invest and sort of put their money into buying these things. But also the size of the market is actually growing because as we saw in the VCR, the types and the variety of this market just keeps continuing to grow. Yeah.
And we also saw footage of the streets that are dedicated to selling these toys. I've been there before.
Me too.
It's hard to walk. And it's hard just to enter just because there's so many people are obsessed with these toys as well.
Yes.
So those sales figures also show that this is not just a niche market anymore, and stress relief toys have clearly become a genuine consumer trend. So let's take a deeper dive into why this is happening. So why are these stress relief toys so popular among adults, Kyle?
So, great question. I think it comes down to the deep sensory craving. So now we live in a completely digital world where almost everything we consume is filtered through screens. So it's normally, visual or auditory, like watching videos or listening to audio. So because of this, we have fewer opportunities to actually engage and satisfy our sense of touch. So I feel that young adults are turning to these toys to fill the gap, consciously exposing themselves to physical sensations. So also on top of that, there's a very real mental health factor. So recent data shows that over 30% of young adults in their 20s and 30s suffer from high stress, mostly caused by workplace or financial pressure. So for these exhausted office workers and students, these tiny toys have essentially become a psychological painkiller, like ADHD pill, providing an instant, accessible dose of stress relief and comfort right at their desks.
Right. So it seems these toys give people something they really need, a quick mental reset during a busy or stressful day. But stress relief is actually only part of the story. So what else is fueling the popularity of these toys, Jessica?
Because as Kyle mentioned, I think it kind of satisfied two things. That when we talked about the keyring, like customizable keyrings in the bag, it sort of does something similar. And I think it's two things. One, financial burden, and also mental burden. So the stress part Kyle already talked about, but it's interesting because in the intro, Kyle said, I'm using my big adult money and feeling like a very luxury. But because these are so affordable and so cheap, I think they're at max about $3 to $5 US, right, for each one. So being able to sort of exercise that financial power, I think gives people the kind of freedom to sort of show their identity and buy these things. On top of that, it also does the entertainment purpose of stress release and distraction. So I think it satisfies a lot of the things that young people really crave for.
And that's so relatable because on yesterday's show, we actually talked about housing prices. But this is obviously much more attainable.
Exactly.
So that's nice. So it's fascinating how these toys have evolved from simple stress relief items into lifestyle accessories, collectibles, and even fashion statements. But of course, not everyone is happy about this trend. So why are these toys then sparking controversy? What controversy is it sparking?
Yes, so there are a few major issues being raised around this keycaps. Like,
looks innocuous,
yeah. I won't let it go, but still. Okay, first they can be annoying, of course, like these sounds. Clicking sounds are very annoying and distracting to others in public spaces, for sure. Even in classrooms or subways, a lot of people can't stop clicking these things for a lot of different purposes, but mainly it makes like huge noise, so people wouldn't be happy about it. So also like the keycaps or wax ball can easily bother people around you, definitely. And even leading to fights on a subway, like in a crowded subway or in the offices, like it happened sometimes before. And second, I think that's the major issue, I guess. The product safety is a growing concern for sure. Many of these trending toys are cheap, uncertified imports that have been found to contain harmful chemicals, and you actually squeeze and touch and like rub them on your hands, so posing health risks for sure. Lastly, there's an issue of psychological dependence. Experts warn that relying too much on these toys can reduce a person's natural ability to handle stress, making them overly depend on these objects to calm down.
Right, so that is a good reminder that what feels relaxing for one person can easily become distracting or annoying for someone else. And all this has led to plenty of debate online. So what kinds of complaints are people making these days?
Also because of the noise. While it may be comforting to some, imagine if someone is like going like this right next to you at the office or the subway.
To be fair, actually, I was on the phone with someone. I heard a very loud, obnoxious, to me it's not obnoxious, clicking sound. I found out later it was keycaps. So I can relate. I mean, it feels nice when you're the one.
When you're the one doing it, right? And there was actually an incident that went viral on social media where a fight actually broke out because somebody was clicking the keycap and the passenger who was reading next to the person actually asked the person to stop. But then they got in a fight because the person argued, what right do you have to make me stop doing something that makes me comforting? So we have to be really mindful of how it could feel to other people, I think. And also on top of that, I think there's a slight environmental issue as well. Kyle mentioned the fact that there could be materials that could be harmful to the body, but I also think because wax breaking ball especially is one-time use only. So I know a lot of people are trashing it or they have a very short shelf life. So using a lot of these could have a potential effect on the environment as well.
That's true. So it seems the issue is not whether these toys are good or bad, but whether people are mindful of those around them. After all, one person's relaxing sound can easily become another person's noise as well. So to better understand also the psychology behind this trend, we're going to speak with an expert on this, and that conversation will take place right after break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
And joining us now is Professor Kwon Man-jae, clinical professor in the Department of Psychiatry at Severance Hospital. So Professor Kwon, thank you so much for being with us today.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here today.
Thanks for coming on. So Professor, why are so many young adults so crazy about tactile toys these days?
Well, part of it is very simple, like you all mentioned today. Touch can be calming. Squeezing, rubbing, clicking something gives hands a small, repetitive action, and that can help the body settle when someone feels tense or overstimulated or when they're anxious. But I also think it really reflects the pressure that many young adults are living with right now in Korea and in many other countries. Younger people are dealing with unstable work, expensive housing, like you mentioned earlier, social comparisons online, and constant feeling that they have to keep up. So there's a real demand for small, accessible, cheap way to take the edge off. Fidgeting itself actually is not new. People have used worry beads, smooth stones, or even clicking pens for generations. What is different now is that products are being designed purely for this habit, and social media has turned them into a visible trend. So the habit is old, but the market around it is actually new.
I feel like you read me so well. So, yeah. So can so relying on tactile toys like this become emotionally unhealthy or even addictive?
Yeah, so for most people, no, I don't think that's going to be unhealthy or addictive for most. But I would not describe this as addiction in the clinical sense, the way we might talk about alcohol, gambling, or drugs. For many people, these objects are simply a harmless comfort habit. But like any coping tool, it depends on how it's being used. I think a useful question is this helping me face the situation, or is it helping me avoid it? If someone uses a tactile toy, like a keyboard, to calm down and then returns to what they need to do, that can be healthy. But if it becomes the only way they can manage ordinary stress, or if they feel unable to function without constant soothing using these keycaps, then it may be a sign there's a deeper anxiety, stress, or exhaustion underneath. In that case, it's worth paying attention to the cause, not just the habit of using these toys.
Professor, I think you kind of addressed the next question, because we're looking for ways to actually use this in a very healthy way, because like you mentioned, we don't want it to be a distraction to face something that is real. So what are some of the healthy ways that we can use it? And also, are there alternatives that you would recommend?
So I would suggest using them intentionally rather than automatically or passively all day. So pick one up, pick your keycap up when you feel tense, use it to settle your body, and then return to what you were doing that you just stopped when you started using that fidget tools. One important point is that the toy should help you stay with a difficult moment, not escape from it. Anxiety usually actually becomes less powerful when we gradually face situations and learn that we can handle them instead of avoiding them. So a tactile toy can work like training wheels, useful for support, but like when you're on a bicycle, useful for support, but not something you want to depend on forever. You want to get rid of those training wheels and be on your bicycle and drive them for fun. And of course, the most reliable ways to manage stress are still the basics that you all know: moving your body, slowing your breathing, getting enough sleep, spending time outside, and staying connected with people you trust. If stress starts affecting your sleep, mood, concentration, or relationship with your friends or family, daily life, then talking to a mental health professionals or psychiatrist is a sensible next step. So it doesn't have to be the last resort to get help.
I think that's great advice. While keycaps can be helpful, like a helpful tool to help us, calm down when we initially feel that burst of anxiety or when we get triggered, it's important to make sure to keep connected, keep in touch with things like nature or people around you. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today, Professor, on this.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just spoke with a clinical professor from the Department of Psychiatry about why so many young people are drawn to tactile toys, when these stress relief items can become unhealthy, and how to enjoy them in moderation while maintaining other healthy coping habits. Now let's see how the public feels about this growing trend. So we also wanted to hear directly from our viewers. So we ran a poll on the Arirang's YouTube channel asking, what do you think of trendy stress relief items such as keycaps? And here's what the results showed. So majority of our viewers had a positive view of the trend, with 58% saying keycaps are cute and have a satisfying sound. Meanwhile, 22% felt they're noisy and childish, while the remaining 20% said they had no particular opinion. So it looks like most of our viewers are open to the trend, but the results also show that context really matters. After all, what feels satisfying to one person can easily become distracting to someone else. So after today's discussion on these stress relief toys, which particular toy would you like to try, and what's your favorite way to relieve stress on this? Kyle, do you want to go first?
After the discussion with Professor, I think it's safe to say that I can use this as long as I don't lose the purpose of it. So if I have to choose, I think I would just stick to the keycaps, especially considering the safety issues. I would feel pretty uncomfortable using other like squishies or like the wax breaking ball because of the chemical risks. And then actually, my personal way to relieve stress is playing sports like basketball. Not only does it help improve your physical health, but I'm a pretty social person and it's a team sport. So it's a great way to getting boost of social energy.
I think it's safe to say that Professor Kwon will also approve of this.
Yeah.
Especially way.
I feel so relieved today.
What about you, Cheska?
I actually, after hearing Professor Kwon's speech, I would actually use less of my keycap.
Okay.
Yeah, in a good way though, because like Kyle, I love being active outdoors. But for me, I think I recover more when I spend time alone. So a little bit more walking, a little bit more cycling, and just a little bit more being outdoors and just calming my nerves in my own way could be a little bit helpful. But I will still carry my keycap around because it lights up and I think it's quite pretty. But I will only use it when nobody's around. Yeah.
Right, it's a good way to go about it. So whether it's a keycap or a Lego set or something entirely different, there's nothing wrong with finding small ways to unwind. And the key is making sure our stress relief doesn't become someone else's stress. And perhaps growing up doesn't mean letting go of play, just means knowing when and where it belongs. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. My News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Kyle.
Thank you, I had so much fun.
And also Cheska.
Pleasure's always mine, thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Here's to finding healthy ways to click with your inner child. We are
News Generation.
to set the facts straight. Get Korea right.
서시 죽는 날까지 하늘을 우러러 한 점 부끄럼이 없기를. 잎새이는 바람에도 나는 괴로워했다. 별을 노래하는 마음으로 모든 죽어가는 것을 사랑해야지. 그리고 나한테 주어진 길을 걸어가야겠다. 오늘 밤에도 별이 바람에 스치운다. 한국인들이라면 한 번쯤 들어본 시일 텐데요. 바로 서시입니다. 이 시를 쓴 주인공, 바로 윤동주 시인입니다. 안녕하세요. 반크에서 활동하는 권소영 연구원입니다. 서시, 별에는 밤, 자화상 등을 쓴 윤동주 시인은 한국인이 가장 사랑하는 시인 중 한 명으로 꼽히는데요. 가끔 윤동주 시인의 정보에서 오해와 오류가 보이더라고요. 제가 윤동주 시인에 대한 제대로 된 정보를 알려드릴게요. 대일항쟁기였던 1917년에 태어난 윤동주는 평생 한국어로만 시를 쓰며 민족의 아픔을 위로했던 시인이에요. 폭넓게 세상을 접하고 더 많은 것을 배우기 위해 일본 유학을 떠났던 윤동주는 1943년 7월 한국인 유학생들을 대상으로 민족 문화와 독립 정신을